Hi, this is Dr. Richard Ruling, here to share with you on the Total Health Channel. Thank you for being with us from day to day and for sharing with your friends. Please let's ask God's presence and blessing as we do this. Father, please help us. We are poor and needy, and you said from the soul that feels its need, nothing is withheld. Please give us your Holy Spirit. Without your guide, we cannot see anything, and we will get it twisted surely. Please help us to see it from your word as intended, and do exceeding abundantly for Christ's sake, as you promised in Ephesians 3:20. Hallelujah. Well, I want to address a couple questions from people. In fact, I'd like to just throw open the door to questions from any of you. If you message me a response to this video, I'll try to look at it and maybe tomorrow cover some of those things. We will shortly be repeating some of these things as we look at Daniel, Revelation, and the wedding parables again. But want to discuss the question that a Michael asked. There's a lot of Michaels. I don't want to reveal confidentiality, but anyway, the question was about, and he's not the only one, by the way. There are others that asked it. What about the judgment of the living? When is it? Did it start? And what's about the probation on Seventh-day Adventism? So specifically in Revelation 11:18, it mentions three time periods: the time of the dead that they should be judged, the anger of the nations, and the wrath of God. And those are sequential. Ellen White saw them in early writings, page 36, as separate and distinct periods. We, for 175 years, have been in the time of the dead that they should be judged. But if they're separate and distinct, something big is coming to divide. Just like John in the first chapter of Revelation, he was startled, turned, and I believe it was an earthquake. It said that there was a trumpet that sounded, that startled him, really. The voice of a trumpet, which was also the voice of many waters. Both of those have links to earthquake situations. In Exodus 19, the trumpet, the place where you first find the word trumpet, there's a rule of first use because Christ is Alpha and Omega, first and last. He's the Word. And the place where we find trumpet first is in Exodus 19. When the trumpet waxed louder and louder, and God was on the mountain, it shook, and there was smoke and fire. People were terrified. After that, they said, "Moses, you talk to God. We're afraid." So basically, it was a mini judgment day, and I believe Revelation is a maxi judgment day, and it opens with an earthquake. And I believe that that's what is impending, to divide judgment of the dead from judgment of the living. And that's how the Laodicean church ended. Anciently, an earthquake ended that city, affected it, and the church. But at that point, we will consider it God's knock also. You know, Christ said, "I stand at the door and knock." And in the wedding parables, there's a knock. And it says that we're supposed to be like men that wait for the Lord when he comes from the wedding and knocks, that we open immediately. Well, wedding parables, and that's, of course, the understanding of them better. We've talked about that. Won't go there right now. But the point is that the separate and distinct periods for judgment of the dead, judgment of the living, I believe, were separated by an earthquake. Ellen White was at Loma Linda when she saw an earthquake in vision. Many lives were blotted out, buildings great and small falling to the ground, and she said it seemed that Judgment Day had come. That's volume 9, page 93. If some of you don't have these volumes, you can either go to egwritings.org and look up the reference. Just type in the window 9T, page 93. Actually, it starts on page 92. You can read it, or go to your church. Almost every SDA church has a library with these testimonies in it. You can look it up on Sabbath. But the point is that big event, and at that point, Ellen White, many people seeing that and reading it in volume 9 think she's talking about the San Francisco earthquake because she mentioned it on page 94. But on page 95, she says, through his prophet Zephaniah, the Lord specifies judgments he will bring. Okay, and she cites Zephaniah 1:8, in the day of the Lord's sacrifice, I will punish the king's children. Okay, well, Adventists believe they're the king's children, and I believe we're in for punishment. At least some people are. And in fact, the question was also about the probation for the SDA church. I think we're running out of time, and when it closes for the church, I believe it will close for the leadership in a sense of general conference, and if that earthquake occurs this spring, as I believe it could, the church will be in huge financial catastrophe because they have mortgaged church properties against Loma Linda with the idea of making money and paying those loans off and so on, just mortgaged to the hilt while we have money in the stock market. Well, not good either way, and I think it's a problem. And the church has been doing a lot of things that God cannot bless. Part of this comes from our effort to get along with the world and the UN. I have a picture here that is about an unholy alliance. You see one of our church members, pastor actually, Ganoon Diop. I knew him in Collegedale, but he, for 9 years prior to 2015, was a liaison with the UN under the heading of International Religious Liberty Association. IRLA is called. Well, since 2015, with the General Conference, he is Director of the Public Affairs and Religious Liberty. So what is he doing with clasping hands with the Pope? Ellen White said in Great Controversy 599 that Protestants would clasp hands, reach across the abyss and clasp hands with Roman power. And that's couldn't be more accurate right now. That is specifically what's happened. He's clasping the hands of the Pope. And not a happy situation from an Adventist, truly Protestant perspective. I would like to ask Dr. Elder Diop, Director of Religious Liberty, if he ever would have, in all his years in that seat, he had come from Africa. He was born in Senegal. Maybe he should have asked the UN what the problem was with Rwanda. 25 years ago, when Rwanda began the genocide, there were so many UN vehicles on the streets of Kigali there that if you spit, you'd probably hit one. It was said on a documentary. But none of that, there was no protection from the UN. They were just ordered to stand down and let the local government handle it. Well, the local government was Catholic, and the Protestant Tutsis got martyred, slain, genocide, blood all over the hands of the UN and the Pope, in my opinion. So, and yet, why the buddy, how are you today? Get along. Poor situation. It says in Isaiah 28, verse 15, actually the verse before that, verse 14, and that's Isaiah 28, and half that number is 14. God is talking to the scornful leaders of my people in Jerusalem. Okay, so that's symbolically our church, because she had said in volume 8 of the Testimonies, page 67, that Jerusalem is a representation of what the church will be if it refuses to receive and walk in the light. And she later said we're not walking in the light. In page 250 of that book, by 8 Testimonies, she says, how has the faithful city become a harlot? And we don't see it. We see honest men who seem to be sincere, who preach Sabbath after Sabbath, sermon after sermon, slicing the bread a different way, but still easy stuff week after week. We're not looking very deep, really. We've become pretty shallow in terms of where we're at and understanding the times. And so in this Isaiah 28, 14, and 15, it says that these leaders have made a covenant and said that the overflowing scourge will not affect us. It's okay. Well, in verse 18, God says it will. It'll tread you down. You'll be trampled under by the overflowing scourge. Your covenant will be disannulled. So whatever agreement they have with the Pope and with other religious leaders, I think they get it first under the time of judgment. Their agreement of how it's going to be will not stand, and secret societies, Knights of Columbus, and some of these things will do what they've done in the past. If we know anything about St. Bartholomew's Massacre, sudden persecution, as Ellen White said, David Gates has this on one of his videos, will be clearly revealed. It's done in Daniel 12, verse 7, when it refers to the scattering of the power of the holy people. Well, we don't see it coming. Everything just seems like Laodicea right now today, but things can change very rapidly into a crisis, And all we need is one huge calamity, which is forecast in Bible, the sudden destruction. When they're saying peace and safety, sudden destruction comes. Well, that was the Iran nuke deal in 2015. The UN had those words as part of its theme in 2017. The Pope brought peace to the Middle East in Abu Dhabi just last month, beginning of the month. And so things are really ripe for sudden destruction because these signs are fulfilling. Hey, thank you for considering this, and we'll talk again, but just ask you to share with your friends, and probably we need to increase this because, you know, we're coming to a time of wedding and serious events when there needs to be 144,000. I don't know how that's going to happen, but we need to let our light shine. The King sends his servants to bid people to a wedding, and that time is near. Just want to encourage you, if you want to get a free book today, this is on Wednesday, March 26th, I believe it is, and or 27th, excuse me. The Jerusalem's destruction is a sign for us of end times, and it's also to indicate judgment impending on America. And it might not be destroyed fully, but I believe this coming Easter and Passover, there will be a surrounding of Jerusalem, as Zechariah 14:1 and 2 says, that all nations will be gathered against Jerusalem. When we see that, we are really there. That's the last sign, in my opinion, before a month later we get judgment. So let's watch and pray, study, and thank you for sharing it. Get the free book. If you go to Amazon.com, type in my name, Richard Ruhling, R-U-H-L-I-N-G, and just scroll down to the destruction of Jerusalem. Will signal the end times. Thank you very much, and bye.